I remember little of my homeworld before I entered my master's service. It is not as it was. There is little left of such memories. Or the planet itself.
There's a planet in Star Wars called KATARR. You won't find it in the movies. You won't find it in the shows, but it was real inside this story. Cities, forests, millions of people, and one day, a gathering of Jedi came there looking for answers. All they found was death. It didn't drop bombs, it didn't land troops, and it never fired a single shot. But when it left, KATARR was a corpse. Every living thing on the surface, gone. Not killed, but eaten. However, one person survived. One. And the thing that did this, it's not even the scariest monster in its own story. All of this lives inside one video game from 2004. A game so bleak, the studio reportedly had to ship it before it was even finished. And buried inside it are 3 Sith Lords, who have nothing to do with capes, or lightning, or force choking, or I am your father. These 3 are different. One of them is hunger, one of them is pain. And the last one, the one who's standing right next to you, smiling the whole time, wants to do something so horrifying that no villain in all of Star Wars has ever even attempted it. And she's the reason that people who played this game 20 years ago still talk about it like a place that they survived. So let's gather our bearings right quick. When you think scary Sith, your brain goes here. The mask, the breathing, or here with lightning and cloaks and capes and funny politics. And these are great villains, but notice what they actually want. They want to rule. Power, control, they want an empire. And it's scary, sure, fascism is a terrifying thing, but it's a human kind of scary. It's a tyrant with a sword. But in Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, it's set thousands of years before the films, and it threw out the empire and control playbook completely. Because the writer behind it, a guy named Chris Avellone, who also wrote Fallout New Vegas, wasn't interested in another evil overlord. He wanted to write Sith who are less like dictators and more like symptoms. Like something had gone deeply, fundamentally wrong with reality itself, and these 3 were what crawled out of the cracks. To get why, you need one idea. In this universe, there's a thing called a wound in the Force. The Force is supposed to be the energy that connects all living things, right? Now imagine a place where so many people died, so violently, so suddenly, that it tore a hole in that energy. A scar in the fabric of life. A wound. That happened. A weapon called the Mass Shadow Generator was used in a war, and it killed hundreds of thousands of people in a single moment. Both sides, all at once. The Force didn't just lose those lives, it got injured. And these 3 Sith Lords, they are what festered in that injury. They even have a name for themselves. The Sith Triumvirate. So let's meet them. And we'll go in order from pain to hunger to the one that I keep warning you about. This is Darth Sion. And the first thing you need to understand about him is that he is already dead. I mean, just look at him. His body is shattered, cracked open like dried clay, and there are wounds on him that should be fatal. They were fatal. And they're just sitting there, open, never healing. Because Darth Sion isn't being kept alive by medicine or the Force the way a Jedi would use it, or anything that you would recognize. He's being held together by hate. And that's the actual mechanism. He should have died centuries ago. He's ancient. He fought in wars so old, most people in the story simply treat them like legends. But every time his body tries to give out, Sion just refuses. He pulls all that broken meat back together through sheer rage and pain, through wanting it so badly that the universe doesn't get a say. And he's turned his own agony into a power source. And that's where it just stops being a cool design. And I mean, it is a cool design, but it becomes a nightmare for you. You fight him in the game. You win. You beat him and he drops. But then he stands back up. So you fight him again. You beat him again. And he stands up. You can't kill this thing because death isn't a button you can press on him. Death is a choice. And he keeps choosing no. Imagine fighting something that is decided on a deeper level than thought that it will simply not stop existing no matter what you do. So how do you actually beat the man who can't die? You don't outfight him. You talk to him. The only way to put Darth Sion down for good is to convince him that his endless pain was never strength at all. That clinging to life through nothing but suffering is the most pathetic thing a person can do. You have to make him want to stop. You have to talk a monster into letting himself die. And you can do this through the choices you make in the game. Whether you convince him to stop from the perspective of the light side, or convince him to stop because it's pointless from the dark side. And when it finally works, when he lets go, it's not triumphant. It's sad. Because for 1 second you see it. Underneath all that hate was just a man who was scared and tired. He had been holding himself together with spite for so long that he forgot there was another option. That's the horror of Darth Sion. And he's the part of all of us that would rather hurt forever than admit it's over. He's a corpse that won't lie back down, but he's also the least frightening of the three.
I will not fall. I cannot die. Why? Why did she choose you? What makes you able to defeat me? Defeat me here? It is not possible to walk away from such things unscarred. To keep living when the universe dies around you. The Force is who I am. The dark side fills me. It is what I am. Kreia, she will try to break you, to teach you how far someone can fall. Her weakness is you. She has done all this, all of it, for you. I am glad to leave this place, at last.
Now, the thing from the planet. This is Darth Nihilus, and remember Katarr, the dead world from the very beginning? This is who did it. Darth Nihilus is genuinely disturbing, and I mean it. He's one of the closest things Star Wars has ever gotten to real cosmic horror. Because Nihilus isn't a person anymore. There's no man behind that mask. Not really. He started as one. He was a survivor of the catastrophe that we were talking about. The wound in the Force. All of those deaths at once, but he survived it by becoming part of it. He became a wound himself. A walking, breathing hole in reality. And a hole has only one property. It needs to be filled. Nihilus is hunger. That's it. That's the whole being. He has to consume the life energy of others, the Force itself, constantly, or the hunger turns inward and starts eating him. He doesn't want planets the way a conqueror wants planets. He doesn't want to rule Katarr. He wanted to eat it. And he did. He drifted into orbit, opened himself up, and drank every living thing on the surface dry. Plants, animals, people. All of the Jedi who were gathered there. All of it. Swallowed into the void where a person used to be. The one survivor was a woman named Visas Mar. And Nihilus didn't spare her out of mercy. He kept her, bound to him, so she can feel his hunger through their connection like a constant scream that she cannot turn off. And he uses her like a bloodhound, sending her out across the galaxy to sniff for life, to find him his next meal. She's essentially the leftovers, only being kept alive to fetch dinner. And it gets worse because the man is insatiable. He has eaten so much that the hunger has outgrown the galaxy itself. Unchecked, Darth Nihilus would not have stopped at Katarr, or even hundreds of other worlds. He would have eaten everything. Every star, every world, until the Force itself was an empty room, and he was the last thing in it, still hungry. Even the way he talks is wrong. He can't really speak anymore. There's not enough person left to form words. What comes out is this garbled layer, backward-sounding noise. The people around him just sort of understand the intent. The way you understand a predator's body language. You don't need the words. But there's a cruel twist in his story. When Nihilus finally meets the hero of the story, the character that you've been playing this whole time, the Jedi Exile, he tries to do to them what he did to Katarr. He opens up and tries to drink you dry. But he can't, because the hero has a special ability that we'll get into later. Essentially, Nihilus tried to bite down on something that bit him back. So Nihilus dies, hollow, confused. A starving god who finally found something it couldn't eat. And he is the scariest concept of the entire game. But concepts don't break your heart. For that, you'd need one who's been standing beside you since the very first scene of the game. This is Traya. And from almost the moment your story begins, she is your teacher, your guide. The voice in your ear explaining the galaxy to you when you're lost and you don't understand what's happening. She's wise, she's patient, she challenges you. You come to trust her. You might even come to love her, the way you love a hard but fair mentor, not in a real love way. But her name is Darth Traya, and Traya means betrayal. And this is what makes her, for my money, the most frightening villain in all of Star Wars, not because of what she can do, because what she believes. See, Sion and Nihilus are scary in the way a shark is scary. They're monsters, don't get me wrong, but you can see them coming, you understand what their motivations are. But Traya is scary in the way a really persuasive idea can be scary. The kind that can get into your head, and while you're nodding along, you don't realize how far you followed it until you're somewhere you've never agreed to go. Traya looked at the Force, that beautiful sacred energy that binds all life together. The thing every Jedi worships and every Sith craves. And she decided that it's evil. Not misused, not corrupted, but evil by design.
It is said that the Force has a will. It has a destiny for us all. I wield it, but it uses us all, and that is abhorrent to me, because I hate the Force. I hate that it seems to have a will, that it would control us to achieve some measure of balance when countless lives are lost. But in you...
Because think about it, she says, the Force demands balance. But what is balance? It's an endless seesaw of light and dark. For every Jedi, a Sith. For every peace, a war. Forever. She believes the Force uses every living being as a puppet in that machine, that it pushes people towards constant suffering and conflict just to keep its own scales even. That free will is a comforting lie, and we are all just pieces the Force moves around to feel more balanced. And so Traya, Darth Traya, wants to do one thing no one in Star Wars has ever seriously tried. She wants to kill the Force. All of it. Galaxy-wide, forever. And I want you to take a second just to sit with how large that is. Palpatine wanted to rule the galaxy, sure. Traya wants to reach into the soul of the universe and rip out everything that every other villain was fighting for. She wants to unplug what is essentially God. To set every living thing free from destiny by destroying the very thing that makes a Jedi, a miracle, to leave a cold galaxy behind. Quiet. But no one would be a puppet. And the horror is the realization, because when you look back, you understand that everything she taught you had a second edge. Every lesson was a setup. She wasn't mentoring you, she was studying you, shaping you, because you, the hero, are one who survived being cut off from the Force. You are her living proof that a person can exist without it. You're not her student, you're her experiment, her weapon. She earned that name, Traya, the hard way. She was betrayed by the Jedi, who cast her out. She was betrayed by her own Sith apprentices, Sion and Nihilus, who turned on her, stripped her of power, and left her for dead. She is the one who betrays. And the one who gets betrayed over and over. She is betrayal embodied, just like she is trying to betray the Force. And by the end, she'll betray you too. She told you she would. You just didn't want to believe the nice old woman who taught you everything. And when you finally face her, at the end of everything on that broken planet, she doesn't rant, she doesn't cackle. She talks, calmly. She tells you exactly what will happen to every person you've ever met. Every choice you've ever made, long after the screen goes dark. It's one of the most unsettling endings in any game because she's not threatening you. She's just right often enough to make your skin crawl. Darth Traya is a monster that you can't punch, because the monster is the argument. One that's still rattling around in players' heads 2 decades later. In the dark, where the best horrors always live. And there are many videos about Traya. Her philosophy, what she believes, there is a lot of credence to what she says. But there's a fourth horror in the game, and a fourth wound in the Force. And that wound is you.
Lost. But in you, I see the potential to see the Force die, to turn away from its will, and that is what pleases me. You are beautiful to me, Exile. A dead spot in the Force, an emptiness in which its will might be denied. Are you?
The character you've been playing this entire game, the Jedi Exile, isn't an innocent person who wandered into the dark. You're the reason the dark is there. The weapon that I've alluded to that killed hundreds of thousands in a single heartbeat and tore a hole in the Force, you gave the order. You were the Jedi General on Malachor 5. And to end the war, you pulled the trigger on something that crushed both fleets, the enemy, and your own people all at once. And you felt every single one of them die through the Force. In an instant. A scream big enough to shatter your mind. So you did the unthinkable. You reached inside yourself and cut the connection. You went death to the Force on purpose just to survive the sound of what you've done. That's what makes you the same kind of thing Nihilus was, a wound. And wounds pull things in. That's how you defeated him. While he tried to pull you in, you pulled right back. He couldn't eat you. Without ever meaning to, you draw people towards the empty place where your connection used to be. You bond with them. You feed on them a little, whether you want to or not. Traya warned you about it flat out. The people who love you are in danger because they love you. You are, in the most literal sense, contagious. So when the credits finally roll, the thought that you're left holding, you spent the whole game hunting the three monsters. And the entire time, you were the fourth. And this is why I think that Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, is the greatest Star Wars story ever told. The villains, the monsters, and the horrors of it all. And I'd put these three above every Sith you've seen on screen. They're not villains who want your planet. They're villains who want something worse than you. Sion is what happens when you'd rather suffer forever than let go. Nihilus is what happens when a need swallows an entire person who had it. And Traya is what happens when someone you trust completely turns out to believe the world itself is a lie. And they're patient enough to try and make you to believe it too. Pain, hunger, and betrayal. Not a sword, not a fleet, or a throne. These three things are already living somewhere inside you. And that's why this 2004 game, the one that got rushed out the door and finished, ended up writing the scariest Sith in Star Wars. Because it didn't point the camera at the galaxy. It pointed it at us. And that's why the choices your character makes are so important. You are a wound in the Force yourself. You have the same capabilities as these three. And if you choose to go down the dark path, then you could theoretically kill the Force yourself. That's why Traya wants you. She wants you to help her kill the Force. But by looking inward, seeing the horrors that you've done, the lives you've ended, you're able to make a choice. You're willing to let go of your hate. You're willing to not let your hunger consume you. And when you look to the Force, you don't see a tyrant. You see life. I love KATARR 2. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. And it's my favorite Star Wars story ever created. It's fantastic to me. I talk about Star Wars a decent bit. I have 2 videos on Star Wars, a deep dive into how much the Clone Army cost, as well as what I would do to all the Star Wars shows to make them better. Eventually, I hope to make some more Star Wars videos in the future, but right now you got those 2, as well as some other videos about urban legends, and another video about D&D. It's all sitting right over there whenever you're in the mood to go deeper. Until then, sleep well, and have a blessed day. Thank you for watching.